guess. Now you don't know this, but I have just completed the most awesome speech I have ever in my whole entire life come up with. Yep, I did. It just blew me away, the authenticity of it. I just, best I've ever done. Sad I didn't push the record button. So you have to get next best, I'm afraid. So my girls decided that I needed something a little bit more colourful to surround me instead of beige wall and beige bed and really horrible lighting, and yeah, so here we are. Matahari, eat your heart out. So it's been a rough week. 3-4 days ago I had a full body seizure. It started, I'm selling off on our auctions, on our national auction site, Trade Me, a lot of my tools and cabochons and things coming up from when I was a jeweler before I got sick. And it was not hard work. I wasn't pushing or anything. I haven't been pushing since quite a long time now. Trying to live within my 4% so that it doesn't go down any further. For those who don't know, 4% is the Hummingbird Foundation M.E graded scale of functionality, and I currently function at about 4%. So like I said, being very good, trying to stay within the 4%, which basically means breathe and don't do anything else, although I sneak a few things in. Where was I? Cabochons, right. And then my hand, just as I was typing something into my computer, my hand started to tremble, and it didn't stop. And I thought, okay, this is interesting. So I put my hand down, and it kept going, and then another part of my body started trembling. And they were all muscle groups that I had no control over, like I couldn't say specifically, that side of my leg or this side of my leg. It was doing it all on its own. And then the trembling became very, very strong. And then my muscles, as they finished the tremors, my muscles contracted, and I was sort of pulled into this, my whole body was just pulled into this curled up pugilist position. And my honey said, luckily he was here, I could talk, I could breathe. I was able to tell him that I wasn't upset, because if I was upset, then that would make it even harder for me to get oxygen. So my whole body cramped up, and it wasn't painful, but I could not control one part of my body at all, and I had to wait for that to pass. And then as the contraction, the particular muscle group contraction passed, it started to tremble again, and then the tremors calmed down, and it was over. But that just laid me out for a couple of days. It was pretty physically intense to have every single one of my muscles, and I was thinking, ooh, I wonder what the post-exertional malaise is going to be on this one. It's stinking hot here at the moment in New Zealand. We're in the middle of our summer, although you wouldn't know it because I'm looking at torrential rain out my window. And the heat is coming with such humidity. And not many other countries, of course, things like air conditioning is a standard thing with a house. Well, that's not quite the same here. Air conditioning for us is open a window, and if you're lucky, you might get a bit of a breeze. So fighting with the heat, yeah. So today I got my honey to sort of, I've been looking at this thing called undercuts, and I thought, oh, I bet you that's nice and cool. And so we've actually done our own little version of an undercut up the back, so that when I'm lying, it's a lot cooler, because there's no hair there. I wish I could shave the whole back of my head. And then I thought, well, why don't I? Because it's not like I go out, you know, anymore for people to see the back of my head. So I'm always lying on it. So, who knows? How does it go? Party in the front, business in the back. Wasn't that the old mullet? Anyway, yeah, brain. Apart from, yeah, we said to Honey that, you know, if it happens again, it's probably important that we try and film it, because it's important for my doctor to have, you know, to be able to see what happens. You know, that I generally don't go into my doctor anymore. I just do an email or talk to her on the phone, because we're at the point where there's nothing can be done. The only time we really go in to see her now is when she has to sign it off for a disability pension benefit thing, disability benefit. Yeah. So I'm sorting a lot of stuff out at the moment. I'm decluttering, and it's a huge job. I mean, it's beyond huge, and it's things like I had a collection of boxes, and I've got more crystals than, you know, Crystal Mountain just about, because I loved crystals, I still do, and trying to decide what stays, what goes, because I had a crystal business as well, so shifting on the last of that stock just to get rid of it, really. And my clothes and my shoes, and it's actually a really good feeling. I'm keeping just the things that I think I'll need for now, and things that are special, obviously, you know, are important, I'll put them away. But it's also trying to figure out what I think is important may not necessarily be what my children or my family think is important. And so it's good to have conversation around that, in a, you know, in a gentle way, I guess, because you know, once you got rid of something, you can't get it back. There's consequences to everything. It's something that we're teaching the littlies at the moment, especially, is that everything you do has a consequence, and you've got to start thinking about that. And if I just went ahead and chucked all my stuff out willy-nilly, I mean, there would be a consequence to that. Equally, there would be a consequence to hanging on to everything. So I guess it's just trying to find a gentle way through what has meaning, and it's something that I've been thinking about since I'm not doing my book anymore. Any time thinking about that comes up, it's like, well, this is never going to be known, and this is never going to be documented, and does that matter? And usually I end up at the conclusion, actually, no, it doesn't really matter. It was just it mattered for now kind of thing. And especially given our future, I want to leave everything, you know, streamlined and tidy and ready to go, nice and shiny, set my family up as best I can. But I guess there's also a part of me that it's an old programming of wanting to do everything, and realizing that there are some things that I shouldn't do, because, you know, when I'm gone, they need to go through that process as part of grieving. They need to not sort of come home from my funeral and have everything done for them, and or even preparing for the funeral. You know, it's not, I'm just finding it a very interesting place to find the right balance of wanting to do right by my husband and my children, and doing too much for someone is never a good thing, and not doing enough really turns out well. So that's probably where I'm at today, is just realizing, along with that whole let it go thing, let it go, is that I need to really just let it go. It really doesn't matter. If I've left everything absolutely perfect, so long as I've honoured my family as best I can in the ways I can, and I can do that by reducing a good portion of my stuff. But I would not be honouring them either by trying to have it all done so that they don't have to do it, because I know through losing my parents how important it is to go through that process yourself, and to feel that you have done right by your loved one who's passed away. And I can't take that away from that opportunity away from my children either. And it's interesting how people feel differently about different things, you know. So I'll probably talk about that next time, talk with Honey about it first. But you know, just when I have an idea of something, and because I have a very, very open approach to things like this, I'm not always aware of how uncomfortable it makes other people. And so that's been a challenge for me to understand that people find different things acceptable, and we're finding that around my funeral planning at the moment, that you know, it's a process that's going to be it's definitely not the sort of thing I can sort out in a day. It's a whole process that I have to go through, and realizing that it's not, is it me saying goodbye to them, or is it them saying goodbye to me? And I think, you know, in the situation where you're given the opportunity to plan a funeral, then there's consequences to that as well. I'm not saying it's better than you know, having all of a tragedy happen and having to sort that all out unexpectedly. But we've been given this gift of being able to think and talk about these things, and it's going to take a while, I think, before the children, hubby and me, have a really clear understanding of what's important to each of us. So I'm going to go and catch up with my Star Trek game, because that's within my 4%. All I have to do is, see, and that's all I have to do, well within my 4%. Alright, well, I hope everyone is as well as can be, and yeah, I'll see you next time. Don't get too hot. Don't get too hot. Mind you, if you're in America, don't get too cold. Yeah. Or if you're in New Zealand and Wellington, you could get that both in one day. There's a song about that. 4 seasons in one day. Crowded House, I think, wrote it about Wellington. I reckon it was. Anyway, I've got to head off now. Lots to do. Okay, so we'll see you next time. Doodles!